This Africa feature is brought to you by Into safe and successful in Africa.
Well, I've got Ralph Ertner, CEO of Into Group, in studio with me. Well, at what we're calling a studio tonight here at Melrose Arch. Ralph, it's been almost 3 months. In fact, I think exactly 3 months since we last spoke.
Indeed, Michael, it has been, on the day, 3 months. So a quarterly event.
It was just prior to 9/12 as well. So amazing how one quarter can change things, so to speak.
Absolutely.
And really, that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. I think a lot of the conversation is of the shall we stay or shall we go away type variety when it comes to South Africans or foreign investors looking into South Africa. And it's quite an emotional question. But I think we really need to take a cold, hard look at the deciding factors here. Let's start with the currency. I mean, is the rand beaten, and will we see 20 to the euro? What's your perspective?
Michael, I think, exactly 3 months ago, we were all doom and gloom. But, I mean, we heard it earlier, the rand did a little bit of a mysterious recovery over the last, 2-3 days. But I think if one looks at South Africa, you don't have to look at South Africa alone. You have to look at the concert of the emerging markets, of which South Africa plays a very big role. You're looking at Brazil and Russia being in a recession, and with their currencies, of course, showing the downtrend of emerging market currencies. But you also see promising signs from India, as a huge economy that comes up, with increasing rates. And we, of course, look at the Federal Reserve and look what the U.S. is doing, the total turnaround by starting increasing, the interest rates, while, the European Union is still on the way of decreasing up to even negative territory. And with the latest new good figures, you could see there is enough reserve, in order to hold the rand and give room for improvement.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier, we have seen that improvement over the last few days, and long may it continue if we see that strengthening current account number out tomorrow. From a country debt perspective, I mean, ratings really have been the watchword of the day. Where do you see, in terms of our ratings outlook, where do you see South Africa 12 months from now?
Okay, I mean, clairvoyancy is definitely not my strength, but if you look at a little bit a view into the history, and you see that we are currently at a debt GDP ratio of around about 50%. And we came from 2009 after Trevor Manuel, handed over his reins to Previn Gordon from a lowest point of 27%. Here you say, it's amazing, that about that our debt ratio will worsen so much under Previn Gordon. Almost makes you question, whether it's a good idea to call him back, because, after actually, on a jittery course but stabilized, do we fear anything from that? But look at the other countries like US and Japan, it's like, a triple digit in debt equity, debt GDP ratio. It's probably nothing to fear. And if the people say, the worst thing we can fear is, it's the rating agencies, Moody's, Fitch, Standard & Poor's. What if they declare us junk status? I think, the biggest consequence is it will be the forceful stop to a spending policy, that's maybe not sustainable. And if South Africa can't take up money anymore, or too expensive money outside, their capital expenditure has to, be stopped. And it will be, I would say, maybe a logical corrective to wrong debt course.
And a market correction of sorts.
Absolutely.
And imposed kind of fiscal austerity. Now, the third factor to consider is what's becoming known as the SARS wars. Zuma versus Gordhan on budgets and revenue and taxes and the like. I think the market's seeing Gordhan a little bit as the Jedi in this picture, and we all, we need little encouraging to see between the lines as to who the Sith Lord is. I mean, how are you reading the SARS wars at the moment?
We don't want to paint the Sith Lords here on the wall, but one thing is for sure, the unauthorized, budget spendings that went through big contracts for the nuclear power program, new orders of planes for an ailing SAA, an almost insane increase in the wage bill for the public servants, an increase of hiring. I think the first days in office of Gordon showed a little bit of a Jedi philosophy, cutting the new orders of planes for SA to zero, stopping definitely on Zuma's feet and saying, listen, if you want to spend something, look for the responsive budget. But also, looking at his budget speech, which was, uneventful, very short period of time to assess since he was reinstated as Minister of Finance. Bringing up things like a sugar tax, debatable whether, raising it really, has got a health effect on the country. Bigger concern would be, the VAT remains untouched. I think one of the lowest VAT rates and the VAT rates in the world. Capital gains tax totally, should be scratched. You could look at so many other ways to compensate for lower revenue streams than what has been done in the budget street. So maybe a Jedi, but maybe his light sword is not as bright as it could be.
Well, I think the finance minister is certainly saving some of his powder there for other projects like the NHI and alluding to the VAT for that one. Just finally then, so stay or go, Ralph?
Stay or go. I mean, if you look at the current situation South Africa is in with, even though we don't have a big economic growth, I think politically we're seeing strong influence of changing towards more responsibility, and with Previn Gordon there and with exchange of other areas and a more effective administration, we don't have to fear that we're degraded to junk status. And if so what? The grass is always greener on the other side. But if you look at the homemade problems, that you have, I just came back from East Europe, we had load shedding there, there's crime there. Don't you think, that conducting business is easier by just running away? Stay home, sit it out, set sail. There are better times to come.
A nice big dollop of optimism and looking from the other side of the so-called curtain. That was Ralph Ertner, CEO of Into Group, sharing his thoughts on the future in tonight's Africa feature, brought to you by Into SA.
This Africa feature is brought to you by Into SA. Safe and successful in Africa.